Gene Hackman, a Hollywood legend who once dominated the silver screen with unforgettable roles, chose to step away from the spotlight and enjoy his final years in Santa Fe, New Mexico. This was not a life of luxury, noise, or scandal, but the quiet life he and his wife, Betsy Arakawa, longed for. Hackman's mansion, over 9,000 square feet, was surrounded by the wild yet peaceful landscape of Santa Fe, a stark contrast to other Hollywood stars with sprawling properties scattered everywhere. Hackman chose this one place to call home, a true sanctuary after a lifetime devoted to cinema. In his later years, Hackman no longer cared much about past glory. He lived a simple life, starting each morning with a hot cup of coffee, a few strokes on his easel, and peaceful walks through the garden, feeling the cool breeze through the trees. While Hollywood thrives on fleeting romances, Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa were proof of lasting devotion. Though no longer chasing fame, Hackman found peace, like a legend quietly existing in the shadows. If you're curious about the story of star Gene Hackman and the mysteries surrounding his career, don't forget to hit like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on other fascinating stories. Now let's dive into the story. They met in the 1980s when Betsy was a young piano artist. Although Hackman had been married before, Betsy convinced him that he had found his true soulmate. Together, they spent 3 modest decades, with Betsy pursuing her love of music, while Hackman turned to painting and writing, neither chasing fame nor craving headlines. They simply sought a quiet life. But what was strange was that, despite Hackman's reclusiveness, neighbors often saw him around each morning, driving out to get the newspaper, sometimes stopping at a familiar cafe. The owner still remembers a seasoned man with sharp eyes, filled with quiet thoughts. Hackman didn't speak much, but when he did, you wanted to listen. However, there was one thing that sparked curiosity. Hackman never opened the door to strangers. Even the closest neighbors rarely crossed the threshold of the mansion, a place shared only by him and Betsy. As time passed, whispers began to spread. Why had Hackman isolated himself so completely? Was he hiding something in that vast house? At the time, these questions were just idle gossip, with no one anticipating the tragic chain of events about to unfold, events that would change everything. Neighbors noticed something odd during the 2 weeks leading up to the disruption. Hackman had stopped his usual trips to buy the paper, and the lights in the mansion stayed on throughout the night, as if someone were restless or on watch. Betsy disappeared from view, even though she often stopped by the nearby market for groceries. No one knew what was happening inside the estate. One neighbor recalled, "I remember one late night, hearing a strange sound coming from his house, not an argument or yelling, but something else. A noise I still can't identify." Yet no one thought it was a sign of an impending disaster. No one could have imagined that within a few days, neither Gene Hackman nor Betsy Arakawa would be seen again. One morning, the mailman noticed the pile of untouched newspapers stacked by the Hackman doorstep. Neighbors began to notice. No movement in the house, no one coming or going, no sounds from inside. That was when the police were called, and when they entered, what they saw shook Hollywood to its core. The way Gene Hackman had faded, how the mansion had turned into a silent shell, was just the prelude to a tragic story far darker than any film he had ever starred in. Just when everyone thought they had grasped what had happened, a shocking testimony from a neighbor changed everything. This story was only just beginning. The departure of Betsy Arakawa not only left the neighbors stunned, but also opened up a series of unanswerable questions. The woman who had shared over 30 years with Gene Hackman, a steadfast pillar for the Hollywood giant, was now gone under mysterious circumstances. Betsy Arakawa was found in the bathroom on a gloomy February afternoon when the police raided the Hackman estate. No one could have guessed the haunting sight that would linger with them forever. Betsy collapsed by the fireplace, her head resting gently on the edge of the bathtub as if she were asleep. Thyroid medication packets were scattered across the floor, some pills intact, others crushed. Notably, the room was clean, with no signs of struggle, no accidents, no wounds, no indication of external force. But Betsy had vanished. What happened? The coroner's report emerged, and the official cause of death was hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, HPS, a rare disease caused by a virus from rodents. This disease attacks the lungs and respiratory system, starting with flu-like symptoms that quickly worsen, leading to difficulty breathing, lung failure, and organ failure. However, what's strange is that no signs of rodents appeared in the Hackman house. No nests, no droppings, nothing suggesting the presence of the virus. What does this mean? The police searched the mansion for clues. With flashlights in hand, they explored every dark corner, every crack in the door, every cupboard, every place rodents might hide, but they found nothing. The garden was also checked. Here the first clue appeared. Faint, old footprints, and a few droppings that could have been months old. But there was no evidence that rodents had infiltrated the house. So how did Betsy contract the virus? And more importantly, why did no one notice anything? Another investigation emerged in the forensic report. Betsy's death was estimated around February 11th, but her body wasn't found for several days after. No one noticed her absence. There were no calls from Betsy, and she wasn't seen stepping outside. Even delivery drivers received no requests from the Hackman estate. This eerie silence raised questions. Did anyone know about her disappearance before the body was discovered? What happened during those days, and why did no one notice the absence of someone from such a well-known family? These details only add to the mystery surrounding the case. The strange silence lasted for a week, but something increasingly eerie was unfolding. Gene Hackman also disappeared during that time. A neighbor, Linda Brooks, said something chilling. I thought Gene had gone somewhere, but there's something that haunts me. On the night of February 10th, I saw their lights flickering on and off, as if someone was moving through every room. Then everything became silent. What does this imply? Gene Hackman was in that house when Betsy fell ill, but why didn't he call for help? Why didn't anyone take Betsy to the hospital? How could a man play such a dangerous game? Iconic figures on screen lose all control in their own homes. Gene Hackman may have known something no one else did when the news of Betsy's death was reported. But instead of clarifying things, the media only made everything more complicated. A theory took root. Betsy couldn't have contracted the virus inside the house. So, where did it come from? Where was Gene Hackman in the days that followed? Why did the FBI suddenly get involved when this didn't seem like a crime at all? These questions remain unanswered, but one thing is certain. The story is far from over. How did Gene Hackman spend his final days with Betsy? Gene Hackman was left alone in that vast house, and the story turned strange and dark. At over 90 years old and diagnosed with severe Alzheimer's, his memory and cognition had greatly declined. But no one could have imagined that, in the nearly 2 weeks after Betsy's death, no one came to care for him. Not family, not friends, no one. What happened after Betsy's death remains a puzzle. But from the evidence gathered, a grim picture emerges. Gene wandered through his own home, lost in a confusion he couldn't understand. He didn't know what had happened to Betsy, didn't know where she had gone. No one was cooking for him, no one was bringing him food. The home phone still worked, but Gene never called, or perhaps he had forgotten how the days passed. No meals, no clean water, no one to talk to. Gene Hackman, the titan of Hollywood, who portrayed powerful and intelligent characters, was now trapped in his own estate, unaware of his gradual decline. When the police found Gene Hackman's body on February 26th, he had been gone for over a week, possibly since around February 18th. A big question looms. What caused his death? The autopsy report was shocking. Gene Hackman's stomach was completely empty, with no signs that he had eaten for days. His body was severely weakened, vital signs dangerously low. The verdict pointed to death by exhaustion and malnutrition. A man who had climbed Hollywood's heights, a legend, passed away in solitude and despair. When this truth was revealed, outrage erupted. Why did no one see Gene Hackman in danger? Why was there no medical staff or caregiver after Betsy's death? How could a legend be abandoned like this? Many believe Gene Hackman could have lived longer if given timely care. But the harsh reality is that he was left alone in his own home until his last breath. Gene Hackman had once been a symbol of intellectual strength and resilience, but as the lights of Hollywood dimmed and fame faded, he was left with an empty house and a bitter truth. No one remembered him, no grand memorials, no glowing articles about his legacy, nothing. Barbara Lenehan said something cold. All he deserved was a better life than this. The story of Gene Hackman took a sudden turn when a witness appeared with testimony strong enough to overturn all previous assumptions. That witness was Barbara Lenehan, the neighbor across from Gene's estate, and what she shared changed everything. Barbara Lenehan hadn't wanted to interfere, but when news of Gene Hackman's passing broke, something about it made her feel uneasy. She recalls that just a few days before Betsy passed away, she had seen her walking in the backyard and smiling at her in a casual encounter. Betsy looked perfectly fine. I didn't see any signs of illness, so how could she have suddenly passed away in less than a week? It doesn't make sense if Betsy was truly healthy before her death. What happened to her so quickly and urgently? The story of Gene Hackman keeps growing more mysterious. As new details emerge, the questions surrounding Betsy's death become even more complicated. Why did no one notice anything strange had happened? Why didn't anyone come to care for Gene Hackman when he was in such a weakened state? The suspicious signs, the eerie silence, and the strange encounters in this haunted mansion continue to make people wonder, leaving everyone waiting for the truth to finally come to light. Gene Hackman took his last breath on February 18th, meaning he had been lying there for over a week before being discovered. While there were no injuries on his body, Signs of exhaustion, dehydration, and hunger indicated he had been worn down by starvation and fatigue. No disturbance, no sign of a break-in, no struggle. Just a quiet house, filled with something strange, an invisible haunting presence. But that wasn't the darkest part. The 12-acre estate in Santa Fe was not just the home of Jean and Betsy. 3 dogs lived with them, loyal companions to the couple. But when investigators searched, they found something odd. One of the dogs had died mysteriously, while the other 2 survived, wandering the vast grounds, uncared for, unpoisoned, and uninjured. The dead dog was found not far from where Betsy was discovered, as if it had witnessed everything, then collapsed for reasons no one could explain. This is the big question. What really happened in that mansion? Betsy went first, Jean Hackman followed, and a dog mysteriously died. No one knows what transpired during that time. Some investigators, though not superstitious, couldn't deny that the mansion felt off. Why was Jean Hackman in such a small room, not his bed or couch? Why didn't he call for help with a working phone nearby? How could a man play such a dangerous game when control had slipped away in his own home? Jean Hackman may have known something no one else did when the news of Betsy's death was reported. But instead of clarifying things, the media only made everything more complicated. A theory took root. Betsy couldn't have contracted the virus inside the house, so where did it come from? Where was Jean Hackman in the days that followed? Why did the FBI suddenly get involved when this didn't seem like a crime at all? These questions remain unanswered, but one thing is certain. The story is far from over. The deaths of Jean Hackman and Betsy Arakawa are a tragedy, but they also remain a mystery, a series of strange events no one can fully unravel. What really happened inside that vast Santa Fe mansion? An initial theory came from Jean Hackman's daughter, who suspected carbon monoxide, CO poisoning, a colorless, odorless gas that can kill quickly at high levels. This theory isn't baseless. The gas heating system in the mansion could have leaked CO. If Betsy died from CO poisoning without being noticed, she might have collapsed in the bathroom, unable to call out. Jean, suffering from Alzheimer's, might not have recognized the danger, slowly dying from the same gas and taking 2 days to seek help. However, the police dismissed this theory, as the heating system showed no signs of leaks, and no abnormal CO levels were found in the tests. Another theory links to hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, HPS. The confirmed cause of Betsy Arakawa's illness was HPS, a rare disease transmitted by rodents. But there's still uncertainty. Where did the virus come from? Neighbors never reported seeing rodents around Hackman's neighborhood. The police found no signs of them either. Some medical experts have questioned the diagnosis, suggesting that another cause might have been overlooked in the rush to conclusions. So, is this just a tragic coincidence, or is there something we still haven't grasped? The story continues, and the truth may eventually shed light on the unanswered mysteries surrounding Jean Hackman's case. If you find the story we're telling intriguing and want more captivating tales, leave a comment with the number 1. If not, leave a comment with the number 0. Now let's continue with this fascinating story. The most debated question is why Jean Hackman wasn't found sooner. As a Hollywood icon, he had family, friends, and loved ones. So why did no one visit him for nearly 2 weeks after Betsy passed away? Who was responsible for his care? No medical staff was called. The family didn't reach out, and neighbors didn't see him outside. A Hollywood legend, with all his fame and illustrious career, left alone in his own home, unnoticed. This raises a significant question about the care and responsibility for elderly individuals, whether they are famous stars or not. This sparked suspicion about those around him. Did anyone know, but stay silent? Did someone abandon Gene Hackman when he needed help? Some whispers even claim he might have been left to starve due to his hunger. If true, this wouldn't just be a tragedy, but an act of wrongdoing. However, there's no concrete evidence to accuse anyone. After the news broke, fans and the media began asking questions. Did Gene Hackman and Betsy have enemies? Was this a crime covered up? Why did the police close the case so quickly without digging deeper? Some theories expanded to hint at the uncanny. That house just wasn't right, I can't explain it, but there's something off about it. Rumors about the Santa Fe mansion spread, some calling it cursed, others sensing a hidden truth. But one thing remains, we may never know the full story. Gene Hackman's fans still can't fathom how such a titan faded away alone. The invisible authorities sealed the case, yet many questions remain. Was it just an unfortunate sorrow? Or is there a secret sinkhole with Gene Hackman's story that we may never uncover the answer to? Gene Hackman, a cinematic giant, a man who stood at the pinnacle of Hollywood, ended his life alone amid doubt and unresolved puzzles. But what did he truly leave behind for the world? Gene Hackman's triumphs overshadow the tragic shadow of his final years. Will the mansion where he spent his last days become a sorrowful monument, or merely a forgotten place tied to unsolved mysteries? Above all, did we ever truly know what happened in the final chapter of his life, a Hollywood giant? Gene Hackman remains one of Hollywood's greatest legends. With over 60 years in the industry, he was not only an exceptional actor, but also a symbol of dedication, talent, and determination. His iconic roles, from Popeye Doyle in The French Connection to Lex Luthor in Superman, are etched in the hearts of fans. Every film Gene Hackman was a part of was not just a movie, but a piece of Hollywood history. Yet, with all his monumental legacy, his death raises a profound question. Does fame and success truly guarantee a happy ending? After Gene Hackman's death, his home became a hot topic. Some believed it would become a legacy, a place for fans to honor him. Others thought it was tainted by the tragedies within, a place no one dared to enter. Many shuddered at the thought of the 12-acre estate where Gene Hackman lay for days unnoticed. It was no longer just a house. It had become a dark memory, a symbol of loneliness and unresolved secrets. The debate continues. Will the family keep it, or will it be sold to shed the painful past? Who dares step into the scene of one of Hollywood's strangest tragedies? After news of Gene Hackman's death spread, film lovers and colleagues planned a tribute event, a ceremony to honor his cinematic gifts and remind the world of his monumental legacy. But a question lingered for some. Can we hold a tribute when the mysteries surrounding his death remain? Are we celebrating a legend or hiding a truth someone once buried? Is there an effort to let this fade away? What might his family, friends, or even Hollywood be concealing from us? Although the event continues, hundreds of former colleagues, collaborators, and loyal fans have praised Gene Hackman. His films are being replayed, iconic scenes revisited, but a quiet unease still lingers in the air. Have we truly uncovered everything about the end of Gene Hackman's life? Despite the tributes and the fond memories, there's a sense that something remains unresolved, hidden in the shadows. His career spanned decades, his legacy secured, but the mystery surrounding his final years and the unanswered questions only add to the intrigue. Was there more to his story, left untold? For years, Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa were the perfect couple. Betsy stood by Gene during his declining days, being his most trusted confidant. Gene once called Betsy the greatest gift he ever received, but they parted ways bitterly, in the harshest of circumstances. One fell in the bathroom, the other withered in loneliness, leaving many to wonder if fate was too cruel to them. Two souls, forced to leave this world in grim scenes, with no one able to answer why. Gene Hackman had it all: fame, career, love, and wealth. But in the end, what remained was a man who shook Hollywood, leaving without anyone noticing. A figure who faced millions of dollars under the spotlight, left behind in the shadows of his home. His greatness can never be erased, but was his departure a warning? Does fame shield us from loneliness? Can wealth buy a complete ending? In the end, all we have is ourselves. No one can say for sure, but one truth remains. Gene Hackman's story is not just an exit. It's a legend, a tragedy, an endless mystery. If you're surprised by the story of Hollywood star Gene Hackman's life, don't forget to hit like, leave a comment, and share this video with your friends and everyone around you. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.